Hey, thanks for joining us. Today we'll be playing some Trailmakers. And actually, if you looked at the title of the video, it's actually a tutorial for how to create a tracking system in Trailmakers. Now, this is only going to be a horizontal tracking system. This is not tracking elevation at all, but it does determine the angle and turns in the direction of wherever the player is. Now, the thing is, it is a two-part system because you need a broadcaster and a receiver because it is a universal system that uses the longitude and latitude blocks that were recently added to the game. So, an example of how you would use this is I've got a creation here that uses this system, and it's a cop car and an escape car, and if I detach and wait 5 seconds, this cop car will come after me, start chasing, and it's not perfect, as you can see. At certain angles, the cop car, and on this map particularly, the cop car does not seem to work. Also, spawn time or spawn direction seems to have an effect, but you can see after a little bit, the cop car comes and chases me down. So, the you can find this on the workshop. Let's label it under cop and escape. And I mean, this cop loves donuts, so pretty fitting, right? Anyway, if you do done this from the Trailmakers gallery, it works. I'll be honest, it works best on the airborne map. That's the one place I had the most fun with it. But as you can see, right now it's kind of freaking out a little bit. So, but if you want a more interesting example, I got this here is a triangulator V2. If you just want the logic for it, it's right there. You can see it's track. Right now, there's nothing for it to track because it needs to receive an X and Y or longitude and latitude broadcast signal for it to track anything. So as you can see, now if you look at the tracker, I called it the triangulator V2 if you want to look that up too, and it constantly tracks. Of course, if you find it and you're able to improve it, then you can let me know in the comments, or if there is a way to improve it, and just let me know. But this is what I have so far. I haven't really found a good way to improve it yet. I'm gonna tinker around with the settings. Anyway, so I will show you how to create this. And to create this, it's pretty simple. All you need is 2 receivers, a gyro, 2 number displays, 2 position sensors, a functions logic block that's set to arctangent 2, and an aggregate, and a compass sensor. So how this works is the radio receiver will receive, they got 2 different channels. I just set this on channel 1 and channel 2, and they're going to receiving the X and Y coordinates of whatever you want to track. So it can receive interference at this point, especially when you spawn it in a multiplayer server, and so you can change that by changing the channel isolation and all that. But for this demonstration, I won't do that. So you have it to channel 1 and channel 2, receiving the X and Y coordinates of whatever you're tracking. Now, on the tracker itself, or on the thing being tracked, all you need to do is run the position sensor into the broadcaster and try to make it as central as possible, so it gets the most accurate results. But just run the X to one broadcaster and the Y to one broadcaster, and make sure that the channels are separate, and then you should be good to go, but just don't get them confused. And then on your tracker here, just have the receivers with the correct channels. I usually put it on the left and right to keep them separated, and that way with the separation I won't get them confused. This particular one is the X, or I think it's the longitude. Anyway, it's the sideways one. If you look at the map, it's a sideways direction, and that's what this one's going into. So where this goes is it goes into the signal from the receiver, goes into the number display. There's nothing special about the receiver. You can look at the settings here, and it's just the channel that's set. Then on the number display, this is going to be the X number display, and I do this just to organize and also do some calculations. So I have this receiver going into it, but I also have, this has no settings at all. All it has is a logic output channel of 0, as compared to this one, which has the Y, which has a logic output channel of 1. Everything else is just left alone. And so then the X radio receiver is input into this number display, and this X position sensor, this is actually also hooked into this number display. This position sensor, though, the settings you want to have on the position sensors for on the receiver or on the broadcaster too, is you want to have a threshold of 5,000. See the max threshold. Then the output here is -1, but I'll get to that later. You want the output mode to be measurement, and then of course the X direction is the longitude, so make sure it's on longitude. The channel can be 0, it doesn't matter what the channel is really. Then you want to set it to trigger below, and mute on input is just automatically selected. But with that, you can turn on automatic tracking if you have a creation that you want to do that. And make sure that relative is not enabled, because you want global positioning rather than, because relative will just do it to your position and it won't get you the correct tracking. So, and then with the output, on the tracker, you want a negative output. You want a -1 output. On the thing being tracked, you want a positive output. Because you want to find the difference between the two. And so make sure that your tracker has a negative output on the position sensor, and on your broadcaster it has a positive output. So that was the X, and then the Y, very similar. This is just channel 2 because it's receiving the Y coordinates. It goes into a different display, number display, and this one is a channel 1. No rounding, by the way, on either of these. And this has nothing in the settings except that the logic output channel is channel 1. And it's also receiving information from this position sensor that's set to Y, or the latitude, and the same settings on this one as on the X. It has a threshold of 5,000, a -1 output, and it's set to measurement, of course the Y direction, and the channel here does not matter. Trigger below and mute on input also does not matter, but make sure you keep it off of relative position. So that goes into this Y number display, and then this is where the channel logic output channels come into play, because this needs to be 1 and this needs to be 0. They run both of these signals. You can see they're both running into the arctangent 2 function block, and what the arctangent 2 does is it determines the angle difference, I believe, and but you have to, the way it works is that the arctangent 2, as you can see, it uses the channel 0 and the channel 1. So, but make sure there's no other settings on this, except that it has a logic output channel 0, but it does not matter with this. So, but you do want to make sure that your Y is output channel 1 and your X is channel 0, and run them both into arctangent 2, and then you run that signal from the arctangent 2 function block into the aggregate logic block, and you want this block to be set to sum, that function there. And what this will do, of course, is it will add the measurements that it has, or the numbers that has been given. And what this does is it allows the tracker to know how much it needs to turn before it will be pointing at whatever it needs to point at. But so you already have the arctangent 2 running into the aggregate, but you also, this is where the compass sensor comes into play. The compass sensor has no direction, but it has a complete 360-degree width and a negative output. So what this is, it's not actually adding, it's actually subtracting a negative number, or adding a negative number, which makes it subtract. And so what this is that the compass is measuring the current angle of the tracker. So what you're doing is you're finding the difference in angle, and then you're going to apply that difference to the gyro to make up for it. So the compass sensor is set on 0 degrees direction, a width of 360 degrees, because you're measuring, you're not trying to determine when you reach a certain area. There is a output of -1, so this does the subtraction when you run it through the aggregate. So make sure your output is -1. You want your output mode to be measurement, because you're measuring your angle, and your logic output channel does not matter here. Also, make sure trigger outside is not ticked, because otherwise it won't even measure. So also keep it, well, the mute on input doesn't really matter unless of course you want to turn off tracking or whatever. So then you run that signal from the compass into the aggregate, and once you do that, make sure your aggregate is on the sum function. Output channel does not matter, and none of these settings are touched, and run this signal finally into a gyro. And the gyro settings here do not matter, but of course the bigger your creation, then the higher strength you want your gyro. And if you need more than one, you can add more than one. Just make sure to run the signal into all of them, and make sure that you don't. This one, it says here I have A and D set up, but I don't actually. So you can influence it if you want to control it, but this is usually for me is just a separate creation that I'm not even writing in. So no delay, no duration, however strong you want it, and too strong can result in, if your creation has a lot of mass, too strong can make your creation do donuts like that, but too weak won't turn your creation at all. But the police car was doing donuts and stuff. Too strong and too much mass can make it do that. So anyway, so that was my tutorial on making a tracker on using the longitude and latitude blocks for angles. So, and theoretically, if you want to make an altitude tracker as well, you just find the difference between your tracker's altitude and your creation's altitude. So you need to add a third receiver and a altitude sensor on both. Find the difference, and then apply that to a, well, I mean, you can do it either just vertically as in verticality, but if you want it to point, you had to do some logic using some functions. But anyway, here's the horizontal tracker, and it works, like I said, it works moderately well. There's still some kinks in it, and it's not perfect, but for mild tracking purposes, it gets the job done. And here's a little car I made to demonstrate the position. You can see this here on the thing being tracked. Threshold is 5,000, output is 1, measurement, longitude, and trigger below. Make sure it's trigger below, not relative. So that's the X, and then the Y is the same, and they're just running into the senders, which are set to the channels, but there's nothing special on the senders. And so you spawn it in, and you can see it's tracking. See, sometimes it gets stuck like that. I'm not entirely sure what causes that. I think the overlap is like causing it to in the directions, it makes both of cancel out, the differences cancel out, and 0 or something. But anyway, if you can improve it, let me know, and I'll check it out. So thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for another video next time, and see you later.